Hey everyone, welcome back to Faith and Focus by Lariella. So today we are following the epic journey of a tiny zygote from fertilization to all the way becoming, like a big a child. I don't know. But trust me, it's like, a mini adventure story but inside the body. So first let's start with the fertilization. So it's where the hero and the heroine meets up. A secondary oocyte is chilling in the oviduct after ovulation, just minding its business. Then enter the sperm squad, racing towards the female reproductive tract like a Olympic sprinters. So what happens over there is this one lucky sperm finally breaks through the zona pellucida, which is actually, the outer, one of the outer layers in surrounding the secondary oocyte. Please learn, guys, how to draw the secondary oocyte, okay? It's in the textbook. And it enters the oocyte, and bam, meiosis 2 completes, and a mature ovum is formed. Remember, mature ovum and zygote are different. Once the second, now the sperm enters, it's not called a fertilization, okay? When it enters, it's called as the entire structure is called as ovum. Okay. Fertilization happens is when the nuclear fusion of sperm and the ovum, which will cause a zygote. That means the nucleus fusion is only called as fertilization, not just because the sperm penetrates. So then a single cell superstar is born. So it's like two solo artists collabing on a ultimate hit song. And and then we'll move on what happens next. So it's like about around 24 hours later, the zygote will starts a cleavage. It means like splitting rapidly without growing in size. It just splits rapidly. It doesn't grow in size, but it divides rapidly, like 2, 4, 8, 16. Okay, so blastomeres are everywhere. So the zygotes, sorry, not zygotes, a zygote will be floating around, towards the uterus actually. It floats towards the uterus through cilia and peristaltic wave. So it's like a tiny roller coaster ride. So it's going towards the uterus in the oviduct. So around day 3 to 4, it's now a morula. So morula is a tight little ball of 16 to 32 cells, still floating in the uterine secretions and getting snacks from the mother. What happens at day 5? A fluid-filled cavity will start forming. So that is where blastocytes enter. So it's like, the first home. So blastocytes actually have two key parts. It is an inner cell mass and a trophoblast. So inner cell mass will become the embryos. So it will become the embryo and the amniotic sac. The trophoblast will become the placenta, providing support and protection. The inner cell mass is like a living room, and the trophoblast is, the security team making sure the house is safe. Okay, so it doesn't end over there. So our tiny blastocyst has floated all the way to the uterus and is ready to settle in. So around day 7, it implants into the endometrium, which is the uterine lining, like, a little explorer finding its new home. So what happens is these trophoblast cells will send out finger-like projections into the endometrium and release enzymes to help it dig in. So trophoblast also secretes the hormone HCG, which rescues the corpus luteum and keeps progesterone and estrogen levels high. So this happens when fertilization has taken place and all these things, okay? In the previous episode, what did we discuss? When fertilization doesn't take place, the corpus luteum will die and progesterone and estrogen levels will low. So at this case, what happens is this HCG hormone will rescue the corpus luteum from death. Okay, it's a metaphor, okay? It's not, it actually doesn't die like, but it rescues the corpus luteum from degeneration and keeps the progesterone and estrogen levels high. So after implantation, the blastocyte starts reorganizing its inner cell mass in a process called gastrulation. So why it matters is that this is when the three germ layers are formed, the blueprint of every single tissue and organ in the body. The three germ layers are ectoderm, which becomes the skin, hair, nails, nervous system, all of that. Mesoderm will be muscles, bones, blood, kidney, and endoderm will make the digestive tract, liver, and lungs. So it's like, a tiny construction crew. So these are the first three germ layers. They are the germ layers, okay? But it doesn't stop over there. We also have extra embryonic membranes. They're like the tiny life support system. So we learned four actually: chorion, amnion, yolk sac, and allantois. So talking about each one, while the germ layers are forming, our blastocytes will create these extra embryonic membranes. So chorion is actually a main part of placenta. It is the female, it's the not the female, it's the fetal contribution for the placenta. So it's a main part of the placenta. It also protects the embryo and it also secretes HCG. The amnion will create a fluid-filled amnion sac which acts as a shock absorber, preventing the desiccation of the fetus and all, to maintain uniform pressures. A yolk sac is an early blood cell formation and source of germ cells. Allantois is the early blood formation and contributes to urinary blood pumping. So these membranes are like, tiny support teams settling up all the main stuff that keeps the fetus or the embryo alive. It's like the support system. Okay, introducing a main character right now, the placenta. So early nourishment is in the first 2 weeks, the embryo gets nutrients directly from the endometrium, basically like a tiny snack bar. But it isn't sufficient actually when it grows bigger. So soon what happens is the trophoblast, which is the embryonic fetal cells, at the maternal endometrium. Maternal endometrium is the female, the endometrium in the uterine. It's also known as uterine lining. Both will start intermingle and form a disc-shaped organ known as placenta. So the fetal portion is the chorionic villi or the chorion. The maternal portion is the endometrium. So the blood vessels, both fetal and maternal vessels, are close but they don't mix. Like two neighbors sharing a fence but never swapping pets. Okay, so the placenta's job is to supply oxygen and nutrients to the fetus, removes waste from fetal blood, provides immune protection, and produces hormones like HCG and progesterone to sustain pregnancy. It's a very good thing that they don't mix blood, because what if like the mother is B blood group and you are O blood group, blood shouldn't get mixed. So talking about the umbilical cord. So umbilical cord is a flexible cord like full of blood vessels, guys. All I'm saying, there is a lot of functions of placenta, like detailed functions are given in the textbook. You can check them out. So talking back to umbilical cord, they're flexible cord like full of blood vessels and they attaches the embryo and the fetus to the placenta. So how it works is that the deoxygenated blood from the fetus is sent to the placenta via two umbilical arteries, whereas the blood passes through the chorionic villi and picks up the oxygen and nutrients and they return to the fetus via umbilical vein. So it's like a VIP shuttle service over there. So arteries take the dirty laundries and the veins will bring all the fresh groceries and oxygen back to the fetus. So talking about pregnancy, now pregnancy is about carrying a developing offspring in the uterus. So the duration is normally 38 weeks for fertilization, which is 9 months, or else can be 40 weeks. So they're divided into 3 trimesters. So let's talk one by one. So the first trimester is where the implantation happens. So the embryo will start secreting the HCG hormone. So the HCG hormone is keeping the corpus luteum alive and continues progesterone and estrogen production. So it will stop menstruation and ovulation. And now it's all about the mother. So how does mother change? So the mother change is by the uterus starts enlarging, the breast starts to grow, and cervical mucus forms a plug to protect the fetus. And yes, they have nausea in the classic first trimester. It's a huge side effect. So let's talk about the fetus. So the fetus is, its rudiments of all major organs will start to appear. That's known as organogenesis. The heart will start beating by week 4, remember it? So, but they can be detected by 8 to 10 weeks, but the heart beats by the week 4. And by week 8, the embryo officially called a fetus, which is 5 to 7 centimeters long. So, second trimester is when the HCG levels drop and the corpus luteum shrinks because the placenta takes over hormone production, keeping the pregnancy going. So, the mother will feel the fetus movements and slight belly expansions, and organs will get compressed. Because the fetus over there, the organ systems are fully developed and distinctly human features will start emerging, and the length is 30 centimeter. Very active. Okay. So she can feel all, the movements of the fetus. I mean, 30 centimeter means it's like, that ruler that we have, the foot ruler size. Oh my gosh, it's really big. And then let's move on to the third trimester. It is where the rapid fetal growth happens. So the organ systems become fully functional, and the length is 50 centimeter and the weight is 3 to 4 kilos. So fetus activity may decrease due to a tight space. Mother actually will have problems in frequent urination and digestive issues from organ compression. And imagine the baby is literally 50 centimeter and weight 3 to 4 kilos. Okay, that's a lot of work. So the third trimester is like the baby's last training camp. So yes, so the mother's immune system adapts to not attack the fetus, even though half its genes come from the other parent. It's like hosting a tiny foreign guest without security kicking them out. It's a whole process, guys. So that's why placenta umbilical cord actually separates the blood for safety. But blood mixtures actually happens, okay? Like in some cases, you must have heard. I guess when the blood gets mixed, I guess they do surgery and all. I'm not very much familiar with that. So let's talk about the parturition. This is your birthday. Okay, this is what happened on your birthday. So strong rhythmic uterine contractions push the baby and the placenta out. So it's regulated by prostaglandins, estradiol, and oxytocin. It's a positive feedback loop. That means when contractions happen, more oxytocin is released, so more contractions, stronger contractions. So the 3 stages of labor will be dilations, delivery, and placenta delivery. So dilation is that the cervix starts to thin and open. Delivery is the baby pushed out through the vagina. And the placenta delivery is the final stage where the placenta is expelled. So the baby's out. Now it's not over there. It has to survive, right? So that is where lactation comes in. So lactation is the secretion and ejection of milk from mammary glands unique to mammals. It's a postnatal care, meaning it starts after birth to nourish the baby. Prolactin is the main hormone for milk production. It's triggered by suckling, which sends nerve impulses from the nipple touch receptors to the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary, and then it releases prolactin, which triggers milk production. Whereas oxytocin is the main hormone for milk ejection. So the suckling stimulates oxytocin from the posterior pituitary, and the milk will start ejecting. So that it's a positive feedback loop. So the baby starts to suckles. The more oxytocin is released, so more milk will get ejected, and the baby keeps suckling. Now let's talk about the milk, the colostrum versus true milk. So the first few days after birth, less lactose, almost no fat, but packed with antibodies and white blood cells, protects baby from infections. So the true milk comes after colostrum. So nutrients like lactose, fatty acids, amino acids, minerals, vitamins, water, they are perfect for baby's digestion, growth, and brain development. So proteins like casein and lactobulin and immunoglobulins also are secreted along and easily metabolize fat, iron, and proteins. They are better than cow's milk for human babies, okay? So colostrum is more like a starter pack. True milk is where the full meal comes in. So there are so much benefits of breastfeeding, actually optimal growth, which is that nutrients are perfectly matched for the baby's needs. Immune protection is where the antibodies and the white blood cells will fight the infectious. Passive immunity, yes, natural passive immunity happening here. And brain development is fats and the nutrients will boost cognitive growth, and the mother and the infant bonding, skin to skin contact strengthen emotional bond. That is also a benefit. And low allergy risk, less likely to cause reactions compared to milk from other source. Wow, what a journey we've been on today. From a single tiny cell to a fertilized ovum, all the way to a fully nourished, thriving baby. Her story shows the incredible magic of human development. So, we started with fertilization, where sperm and the ovum fused to create a zygote, the very first spark of life. Then came cleavage and blastocyte, and floating like little tiny explorers finding their cozy home in the uterus. Next, gastrulation and germ layers laid down the blueprint for every organ and tissue: ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, and basically the ultimate tiny contractions grew, building the human body from scratch. And then the placenta and the umbilical cord stepped in as a luxury life support system and a VIP delivery service, making sure the growing fetus got oxygen, nutrients, immune protection while sending waste safely back to the mother. And the pregnancy unfolded across 3 trimesters. The first trimester laying foundations, the second letting the baby show off its human features, and the third being the ultimate growth spurt. So, mother's body adapted, her immune system became a peacemaker, and the stage was set for parturition, the epic finale of birth, and also your birthday. Okay, guys? And finally, lactation gave the newborn its first taste of life. So, colostrum as the starter pack full of immune boosters, followed by true milk, and the ultimate meal, brain booster, and bonding portion all in one. So, from one cell to a whole new human, life is wild, magical, and perfectly synchronized symphony of hormones, growth, and love. Remember, whether you're learning biology or studying human development or just marveling at life, every stage tells a story of patience, teamwork, and pure magic. And just like our tiny cells working together to build a human, you can too build your dream step by step. So stay curious, stay ambitious, and keep glowing. And before I sign off, I also have to mention uh, students actually recommended me to do start series where I only read the textbook, like, not explain, just the textbook reading. And I would say it's coming up soon. So this is more kind of an explanation, but I will be reading the textbook in the upcoming series that I'm planning to do. And also, if you have any suggestions or help or whatever, you can comment and I will be there to read them. And also, thank you so much. And don't forget, if you want to study efficiently and crush your exams, check out Leica flashcards. So, catch you in the next episode with the same energy and more science.